Okay.
Good morning. I call the San Francisco Human Service Agency Commission regular meeting of Thursday, May 26th to order. It is now 9:40, and I am Human Service Commission President Scott Kahn. Commissioners, please respond with present when I call your name. Commissioner Coghlan McConnell.
Present.
Commissioner Semmel. I'm Scott Kahn and I'm present. And Commissioner McCray has an excused absence, and I believe Commissioner Singh is online. He is, okay. We have a quorum. Item 2 on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any comments or questions from the commission regarding the agenda? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on this, is there a motion to approve the agenda? All in favor? So moved. Item 3 is the adoption of our April 28th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Are there any comments or questions from the commission regarding the minutes? Second? So moved. Calling on Executive Director Rohr.
Good morning, President Kahn, Commissioners. So my report for the month, I'll start at the federal level, as I always do. The Fed's announced 2 or 3 weeks ago that they extended the public health emergency through July 15th. The implications for this, of course, is that under the public health emergency, a lot of our processes have been simplified for ease of plan access. So Medi-Cal, no annual renewals for Medi-Cal, no discontinuances, and then the ability to do telephonic applications for CalFresh. Some examples. They've indicated that they're going to provide states with 60 days notice before they end the public health emergency. So July 15th for now, and we have sort of that 2-month window. There's speculation excuse me, that the public health emergency, called the PHE will continue through the fall, given the variants and the current prevalence of COVID-19. And also politically, there's a sense that they don't want to end the public health emergency prior to November, because it will result most likely in millions of people either losing their benefits outright or have their benefits reduced. So sort of the optics of that before the November midterms seems to be weighing a little bit. So we could see this public health emergency at the federal level for, could be through early November, which we think is good because of the access it provides to clients for the benefits. And as long as we have enough notice to resume back to normal operations, then we think we'll be fine. The state level, the continues to be record setting in terms of revenue. The governor announced a record $97 billion surplus in his May budget revision, May revise. He's proposing to use it almost entirely on one-time initiatives. So not assuming that we're going to have this level of surplus every year. So things like rebates, the gas rebate to help offset inflation impacts of gas and public transit, free public transit, new investments in schools, building up state reserves. And then as expected, he's continuing the housing programs that were expanded under him for our programs, which for us is housing support in the form of bringing families home and child welfare, CalWORK's housing support program, the housing disability assistance program for single adults, and then on the adult protective services side, the home safe program. One key investment for us and for our clients is the CalWORK's grant increase, which was proposed to be 7%, 7.1% in January, is now proposed to be 11%, which would bring the maximum grant for a family of 3 to over $1,000 a month, $1,027 a month, which is still only 54% of the federal poverty limit, but we are making some positive progress on grant levels for families. And also, as a reminder, in San Francisco, our ordinance for county adult assistance program grants is tied to CalWORKs, meaning that if CalWORKs gets a COLA or a grant increase, it's also applied to the CAP grant. So we'll see a CAP grant increase of 11% as well, starting October 1st, similar to CalWORKs, bringing the CAP grant to $687 for a single person household. In terms of sort of the good economic news and revenue for us, it's sort of a wash in terms of higher realignment revenues, which are state tax revenues that flow directly to us to support our programs. But because of the sort of better economic news projected in California, they're projecting lower caseloads in CalFresh and CalWORKs, which would be less or lower administrative funding because it's tied to the caseloads. But given the increase in realignment here, the decrease there, it's probably about a net zero. There is one issue that two that didn't make it into the May revise that we were hopeful for. One is an increase in our funding for CalFresh administration. The caseloads we reported out last month, the caseloads have increased significantly. We want to keep providing rapid food access through CalFresh. It's getting more and more difficult to do it in a timely manner because the state money is not keeping up with our costs, not only in San Francisco, but statewide. So that money was not included in the governor's May revise. The legislature is sympathetic though, so we might see some movement there. And then the other one is in Medi-Cal, where we see a cost of living increase for our Medi-Cal allocation, recognizing that staffs get COLAs, that our costs are increasing. And it was 3% in January. And so we were expecting to see a bump in May, given the inflationary numbers in the state and nationwide that are hovering around 7 or 8%. But that number didn't change in May. And so because the Medi-Cal allocation is so large statewide, even a few percent higher, it's about $46 million statewide, and our share would be roughly $1 million of that. So it's not a small number. So we're working with the legislature on that as well. So as you know, May revise is issued. The state legislature, both in the Assembly and Senate, side of the budget subcommittees, where they take up the items that are essentially different from the May revise to what the legislature wants. And that gives us opportunities to either testify or submit letters, which we've been doing. So locally, a few things at the Board of Soups. One is, of course, the budget goes to the board on June 1st from the mayor. Budget hearings will begin the week of June 13th. We received the budget memo from the budget chair this year, who is Supervisor Roden. She seems to be focusing on, the committee is focusing on, given the list of questions and bullets they want in our presentations, they're focusing on hiring and vacancies citywide. They understand that the rate of hiring had slowed under the pandemic, and they're, I think, trying to get a handle on what the level of vacancies are in the city, because obviously the more vacancies, the more savings, the more people we hire, the better the services, and I think they're trying to probably look at balancing that across the city. And then there's questions around communications with clients or communications with members of the public around our services. And these are questions that apply to all the departments that are presenting, but for us, it's how do you communicate with your clients, how do you ensure language access, how do you ensure that they're aware of the services your departments provide. And we, of course, with our communications team, last week last month talked about the branding that we've done, ads that we're posting, and so we're certainly well equipped to answer those questions. In terms of the city's financial picture, the 9-month financial projections showed more savings at year end, about 120 million than were anticipated in the 6-month, largely due to single or one-time savings with Department of Public Health's budget, about 70 million or so. But the city also at the same time did come to agreement with all the public sector unions. The COLA that will be spread over 2 years is a little over 10%. So most of that surplus will be going towards paying down that COLA. There's not a lot of room for the mayor in her budget that will go to the board. Not a lot of room to add significant general fund increases in general fund support. One of the implications for us is our food support programs, which we developed and grew during COVID, totaling well over $30 million. That is not being proposed to continue by the mayor, but she did include in her budget, or will include in her budget, our agency's ability to spend one-time money to keep the programs going for 7 months. So we've identified current year savings. Normally that savings would just revert to the general fund and be spent on other priorities. The mayor saying you keep it HSA in your budget and use it to support or sustain the food programs for as long as you can. And we're looking at the math, it's around 7 months. Now the board's very interested in this issue. It's very likely they could add funding to extend that out further. Certainly we'll be working with them on that. Another second board issue is related to a closed session of the board that they're going to have on June 7th. And this was a motion that was introduced last week, passed this Tuesday, to have the closed session. And why am I telling you about a closed session? Because the topic has to do with our shelter-in-place hotels. And as we're demobilizing out of the hotels, meaning clients have moved out on to permanent housing mostly, HSA is charged with demobilizing the hotel, meaning get it cleaned, repaired, and giving it back to the owner. In the course of doing this, of course, the hotels, after 2 years of use by a population that fairly intense needs, there's a lot of repair work that we need to do. There's questions, of course, negotiations between the hotel owners and us about the extent of the repairs, the cost of the repairs. And the city attorney is concerned that there could be claims against the city, or could be lawsuits against the city that would total millions of dollars. Generally, when there's pending litigation or issues that might lead to litigation, the city attorney likes to let the board know so they're not surprised. So in this case, the closed session is really about, there's no litigation now, we're trying to negotiate several claims, there could be claims against the city, there could be lawsuits, it could cost X. So that's the nature of the closed session. And it's closed, of course, because any sort of discussion could affect the shape of litigation by the hotel owners if it went that down. And then also locally, not directly impacting us, but certainly impacting a lot of the clients that we serve, or client or clients. This is around the holiday. So you may have seen in the press that the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, called CMS, the hospital out of substantial compliance with the CMS conditions of participation, meaning because of those violations and because they were corrected, CMS, the feds, have said that there will be no more federal funding for Laguna Honda serves about 700 patients, and it's funded primarily through federal dollars. So this is sort of like a huge hit that the general fund could sustain. It's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. DPH was able to negotiate a 4 to 6 month window where they continue to receive federal dollars. The condition is that they move towards closing Laguna Honda, moving patients out of Laguna Honda. So it's basically they had to agree to a plan, a 4 to 6 month plan on how to relocate residents out of Laguna Honda, while at the same time working 4 to 6 months on getting recertified, so kind of dual track. It was a way to sustain the federal dollars, while hoping in 6 months to get it back certified to receive federal funds. At the same time, they will be moving patients out. So this could be care homes, it could be skilled nursing facilities outside of San Francisco or outside of the state. The reason I'm bringing it up is we've done this before. We didn't do it because it was being trying to be closed. We did it because there were individuals in Honda who didn't need that high level of care, and consistent with the federal Supreme Court Homestead decision, which says that to get federal dollars, people have to be at the lowest level of care possible. There were a lot of patients at the time in Honda that could really live at home with support services or in a independently or quasi-independently and don't be in the institutional or skilled nursing facility. And so we worked with DPH then, this is about 10 years ago or more, on helping assess the clients and helping them find paths out of it. We will likely do that again, mostly through the Department of Disability and Aging Services, DOS, our partner agency under HSA. And it's really about, again, identifying current cases that have been on that could then be with some sort of level of support provided by DOS or other CBOs. So that's work that has begun already. But the hope is for DPH is that the Granada is not going anywhere. We're going to be certified. This is just a path that we need to take in order to do that. Okay, within HSA, in our admin division, so bring your attention to one thing that we've been working on. As you know, HSA is responsible or leads the mass care and shelter response in emergency. Under COVID, it's a form of our alternative housing program, primarily consisting of hotels. But in December of 21, so about 5 months ago, we, in partnership with the Department of Emergency Management, launched a comprehensive plan update, housing mass care and human services plan update, really trying to incorporate a lot of lessons learned around COVID, ensuring that the 6 or 7 city agencies that are responsible for helping us oversee this system, that they understand their goals, brought together 7 or 8 city departments as well as the Red Cross to focus on mass care response and the response structure, department roles, shelter operations and logistics, equity and inclusion, and how to deal with special populations as well. And the idea really is to say, hey, we learned a lot over 2 years of doing this work with COVID. How should we update the plans? They're equipped to next time we do a standard mass care and shelter system. Once that plan is finalized, and we do a tabletop and other exercises, really sort of socialize the plan with all our partners. In our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging office, a few initiatives I want to highlight. On June 15th, the agency will hold a racial equity function order. We do these quarterly. The topic here is talking about race at work. We have a keynote speaker who is Darlene Flynn. She's director of the City of Oakland's Department of Racial Equity. Staff will discuss the role of dialogue in advancing racial equity, receive sort of practical tools and practice scenarios on how to really talk about race and equity in the workplace and how to be productive conversations. We're also, in terms of our workforce development strategy around the racial equity action plan in June, we'll begin recruiting for our second cohort of mentees. This is a 6-month equity-focused mentorship program to accommodate 15 staff who want to participate. And then over the next 4 months, 75 staff will have the opportunity to participate in a half-day training led by KHR, so citywide KHR ours, on housing, the hiring process, key skills needed to advance in their careers. And all these opportunities are sort of part of our agency effort to create equitable access to promotions, equitable access to professional development, and really maintain and support a diverse, racially diverse staff. And then related to that, in our recruitment efforts, we continue to participate in community career fairs. We attended a citywide career fair on April 23rd. We had over 1,400 attendees. We now have in our HSA talent community of potential job applicants, we have over 250 members of the community that came through these community fairs. We're also working with citywide DHR to pilot an applicant surveying system so we can better understand barriers that applicants face in applying for jobs and in the hiring process, and sort of with an eye on equity and sort of what can we do to make that onboarding process and hiring process easier. Within our divisions in CalFresh, I mentioned this in the context of the public health emergency, but the waivers that continue to waive the interview requirement on approved cases, telephonic signature for applicants, and the expanded student eligibility. College students who are eligible for work study are also eligible for CalFresh. And then the emergency allotments in CalFresh continue. These are the allotments that provide every recipient the maximum amount for their particular household. So we don't deduct things that otherwise would outside of the public health emergency. it averages about $95 additional benefit per household. In Medi-Cal, a couple of eligibility changes that will have, I think, a big impact in San Francisco. The first is beginning July 1st. Assembly Bill 133 goes into effect, which basically increases the asset limits for Medi-Cal programs up to 130,000 for one person and 65,000 per household. This is a big deal because prior to the increase of the asset limits, a household or an individual would have to spend down his or their savings in order to qualify for Medi-Cal. So it's sort of perverse. You're creating kind of reducing your own resources in order to get a federally subsidized healthcare support, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So increasing the asset limit allows households to maintain, a safety net for themselves or catastrophic illness or something else while getting federally and state supported Medi-Cal. We think it'll probably increase the Medi-Cal caseload statewide by close to 20,000. So our impact could be upwards of 1,000. We'll be able to track and know sort of what the impact there is. Also, May 1st, I announced this last month, eligibility for full scope Medi-Cal was extended to all eligible individuals age 50 or older, meaning you can be undocumented, you don't have to be a citizen in order to get Medi-Cal through this expansion. And that's a state-only expansion using state dollars. And the Medi-Cal waivers under the public health emergency continue. That means no negative action and no annual recertification, which helps to grow the Medi-Cal caseload and keep people on their health insurance. In our county adult assistance program, a couple of items. One is we're working on a pretty big programmatic change where we're combining the intake and case carrying functions, meaning right now, prior to this, a group of employees that only do the applications and the onboarding and intake. Then you have a group of employees who do the ongoing eligibility, right? So what we've done is cross-training to merge that, which will allow every CAP eligibility worker to do either an intake or carrying function. It just allows us more flexibility in staffing, allows for better coverage for clients, should reduce wait times, particularly for applicants. So we're working on that now. Staff are participating in subcommittees that are sort of outlining all the different roles and responsibilities in the new model. And we'll be launching that soon. And also at a sort of a similar time frame, beginning in August, we're going to resume offering shelter beds for our homeless CAP applicants, consistent with Care Not Cash. During the pandemic, because shelters had to reduce their capacity and they weren't doing new intakes, we paused providing shelter up front for homeless individuals who in turn got their full cash grant rather than shelter and meals. So beginning in August, in partnership with HSH, Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing, we're identifying a number of shelter beds that will be dedicated to this program to be able to resume Care Not Cash, which really benefit of that is it gets homeless individuals who are receiving county level assistance in queue for housing. Come in and you have a shelter bed, and then you're working with the shelter support network to get in queue for permanent housing. Briefly, in CalWORKs WDD, just for context, in our CalWORKs program, the federal government requires us to maintain a market participation rate of 50% or more. During the pandemic, or face financial sanction. During the pandemic, we provided good cause for families to not participate for obvious reasons. We did that statewide. So the consequence of that was a work participation rate that didn't meet the federal standard. But the feds, in turn, sent a letter to the state saying, we're waiving any fiscal sanction due to this because of the pandemic. And so I just raised it to your attention because we're operating in that universe currently and probably in the near future, which allows us to sort of focus on providing incentives to CalWORKs families to participate and really not going kind of the compliance and sanction route. Instead, we're sort of approaching families as a whole, figuring out kind of what they need to move into self-sufficiency without the risk of that fiscal penalty over our head. But even without that penalty, I do want to report that our all family participation rate did meet the 50% standard. So that's showing really the effects of our incentive work in CalWorks and get families to participate. So even if the feds did sanction the state, we would not have to share in that sanction because we met our reach. Okay, breath and conclude on the Family and Children Services. So May is Foster Care Month. And in honor of Foster Care Month, each resource family, foster parent received a $50 Target gift card. We got several calls from caretakers saying thanks, and they appreciated the special acknowledgement. Also, we had a self-care virtual training that was attended by a fair number of our resource families or our caregivers. Did a raffle and really engaged families and caretakers as best we could in a virtual environment. So hopefully, I'm pretty sure next year we'll be able to do something in person. So I'll conclude with that, and then we have a long agenda. Not anticipated, but there you go. Any questions or comments?
Questions from members?
Commissioner Zellenberg? Are we increasing the number of families? The question for the minutes and attendees, are we increasing the number of families we're helping? Depends on the program, Commissioner. Certainly in CalFresh and Medi-Cal, there's a lot more households with kids receiving those benefits. Our CalWorks caseload has really remained mostly flat. So we can kind of look at it two ways. One is families who lose their benefits during COVID. But the second is, are there families who could avail themselves of economic support to CalWorks who aren't, because we didn't see caseload go up? So that's a harder one to assess, or to prove something that's not existing currently. So we'll just continue to monitor that in the state. The state is projecting a flat or even a declining caseload based on sort of the economic uptick. So I would imagine it would be similar, frankly. One thing that we have done, we've done several things in COVID, but one thing I want to point out is we're doing, you remember the federal stimulus money that went directly to families? Well, undocumented households were not eligible for that, for the federal dollars, but we use local money to basically say to a household, household with kids who are under a certain income level, we'll give you $2,500 in cash support. We have over 560 families who we helped. And these are undocked families who wouldn't normally come to us for support. So I think that is a community that we've been able to penetrate that we probably otherwise wouldn't without that financial support. So hopefully that would lead to, because a lot of those households might have citizen children, so they would be eligible for CalWorks, but the adults aren't aware that they are eligible. And so hopefully that sort of helps kind of alleviate any concerns about coming to the government or coming to local government to get help. Because as you know, we're a sanctuary city and undocked status doesn't matter to us. So answers the question. Sure.
Thank you. Item 6 is the employee of the month, but it's actually item 5. That's confusing to me, but we're moving on to the employee of the month. It's okay. The commission is pleased to announce that Selena Nicholas, a clerk with Family and Children's Services, is the May employee of the month. Selena is a clerk for the Adoption Assistance Program, non-related legal guardian and special care increment units, along with being a liaison between AAP and SCI unit for requests. Prior to the arrival of COVID-19, her job description included filing important confidential documents for over 1,000 cases, recording and tracking special care and adoption assistance program cases, mail distribution, and general clerical and administrative support. Once the shelter-in-place order was instated and most of her unit transitioned to remote work, Ms. Nicholas' responsibilities quickly evolved. While Selena is being acknowledged for all of her hard work and stellar performance since joining SFHSA, 6 years ago, her contributions during the shelter-in-place phase of the pandemic are especially notable. Every nominator, and there were many, emphasized Selena's invaluable role throughout the pandemic, citing her amazing adaptability, skills, hard work, ethic, and dedication to the unit and clients. She worked on site, keeping the office organized while her colleagues worked from home, and successfully handled all of the adoption assistance program requests in the unit. Without her, the unit would not have been able to process the hundreds of reassessments from eligibility workers and AAP parents that came to the unit at this time. She supported her work from home team members by sending emails and mailing out letters on their behalf. The filing duties increased to prevent a backlog of confidential documents piling up as a result of staff working from home. Additionally, Selena was able to sense when colleagues needed a boost during the especially trying times of the pandemic, and was able to act on it with a refreshing enthusiasm. I see you, Don. I see you. I want you to know I see you. Ms. Nicholas has consistently been a top performer since day one with her aptitude and quickness. She was able to bring her newly assigned units that previously lacked support back up to pace. Since then, she has maintained stability in her units while learning new tasks. Selena genuinely cares about her coworkers and goes above and beyond the help to help her team, believing that effective teamwork makes a big difference in day-to-day interaction and leads to more successful outcomes. Selena anticipates when a colleague needs extra support before they have a chance to ask her. She is already there lending a hand. She has a positive attitude every day and is always very willing to assist the unit. In spite of being bombarded with questions and to-do requests, Selena is able to remain on task and adhere to deadlines due to her excellent organizational, computer, and customer service skills. She is also very efficient, works fast, and is quick to respond. Here are a few direct quotes from Selena's very appreciative colleagues. Quote, "She has an eye for detail and does a fantastic job." Selena is a gem. She does absolutely amazing work. Ms. Nicholas is an important asset to any unit she supports. I value and appreciate her effort and responsibility. She is lovely and supportive worker and always willing to help and does this with great attitude. Ms. Nicholas is conscientious about her daily tasks, has good interpersonal relationships, and is hardworking, gentle, in nature, humble, and very professional, efficient, and dedicated. She continues to amaze her colleagues daily with her skills and character. It is with great appreciation and pride that we present Selena with the Employee of the Month Award.
Thank you, President Collins. I had a couple of remarks, but supporting a unit that's largely remote while you're on site during COVID is probably one of the hardest things that you've done, and I just want to be able to recognize you for doing that, and helping the sort of the proverbial the trains running on time, and making sure everything is going on the right path, and you being able to do that and support all your colleagues when they are working remotely is something that we really like to recognize here. Congratulations to you. It's very well deserved. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to the meeting. Special thank you to the ladies and Dr. Beard for the Melissa, our program director, for your support. So grateful and honored to have this recognition. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir. Item 6, the consent calendar. Do any of my fellow commissioners want to move an item for individual discussion? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on this item, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? All in favor? So moved. Item 7 on the agenda is the San Francisco Human Services Agency strategic plan presented by Susan Smith.
Good morning, Commissioners. And welcome our newest Commissioner McDonald. Nice to meet you. I'm Susie Smith, I'm Deputy Director for Policy Planning and Public Affairs here at USA. And as Liz is getting us queued up, I just want to start by, as you can imagine, strategic planning process is the culmination of many months of work. And I want to take a moment to honor the people that have been particularly involved in this process and thank them publicly. This project has been a collaboration of our communications and our planning team. From those teams, I want to thank Thea Hillman, Joe Malika, Maria Mejia, Christian Flavio, and Christine Liu for all of their work on this effort. And importantly, this plan absolutely could not have been possible without our Director of Planning, Rose Johns, and our Director of Communications, Teresa Young. Can you please stand up? Okay. Should I stand back? Is it better? Okay. We're so excited to share our strategic plan with you today. This plan sets forth our goals and priorities for the next 5 years and our first ever fully integrated framework across all of our programs and departments. In the wake of COVID-19, racial unrest, and evolving economic trends in San Francisco, we feel like our plan and our work is more important than ever. We're thankful for your role in guiding us in the work. Next. Next slide. Okay, so using our new brand identity, so we recently, as many of you know, launched a rebranding process to better explain what we do and what the relationships are between our departments to the public. This plan really provides another opportunity to reintroduce ourselves to the communities we serve, to city stakeholders, our community partners, and elected officials. Here we have our mission statement, which is, we envision a San Francisco where everyone has the opportunity and support to achieve their full potential through all stages of life. Our mission is that we're committed to delivering essential services that support and protect people, families, communities, and we do this through partnering with neighborhood organizations, community organizations, and by advocating. As you hear friends talking about what's happening in Sacramento, what's happening at the federal level, locally, we're consistently advocating for policies that improve the lives and economic well-being of all San Franciscans. You see our values there. Next slide. On presenting on screen sharing and Zoom mode. Thanks, Liz. It's not easy. Yep. It's just not really. As a reminder, HSA is comprised of 2 separate departments. The Department of Benefits and Family Supports, which used to be DHS, Department of Human Services, and the Department of Disability and Aging Services. And here, and we're all supported by HSA's administrative infrastructure. And so this commission oversees the Department of Benefits and Family Supports and that administrative structure. Here you can see a listing of all of our new programs. Next slide, please. As you know, of course, we're a very large public agency. We have a budget of over $1 billion, 2,500 employees, and we partner with hundreds of community-based organizations to deliver our services. Next slide, please. Who do we serve? You would think that this is an easy question, but in our high-cost cities, in our high-cost cities where even teachers struggle to afford rent and stay in our city, it's not that simple of a question. So every year, we serve over 250,000 unique individuals. That's 1 in 4 of our neighbors. And in fact, one of the things that makes us unique in the City family is that we have a touch point for nearly every low-income individual and family in the city. Even as Director was speaking earlier, undocumented families, their kids are often on our programs. And we use that information in a protected way to be able to try to connect the city to our most vulnerable residents and other resources we have, which we'll talk about soon. Next slide, please. So in terms of who actually needs our services, according to, so by the one-size-fits-all federal measure, the federal poverty measure, which is used to qualify our clients for many of our services, one would think only 9% of San Franciscans are in need. However, by more accurate measures, regional differences in cost of living for things like housing and childcare, 28% of our residents do not have enough money to get by in our high-cost city. And that's about 75,000 people. And the next slide, please. It's important that we provide a framework for understanding the changing demographics of San Francisco in order to understand our strategies and goals in the next 5 years. So we're going to take a few minutes in the next few slides to go over some of those key demographics and how they relate to the populations that we serve here at HSA. People who identify as Black, Indigenous, and people of color, or what's commonly termed as BIPOC, are almost twice as likely to live in poverty as white San Franciscans. Perhaps not surprisingly then, almost over 80% of the people we serve who report their race or ethnicity are from BIPOC communities. These profound racial inequities reflect historic and ongoing structural racism. Combating them is embedded both in our programs and the resources that we provide our clients, but also in the way we deliver our services and the groups with whom we partner. Next slide, please. A core population of who we serve, and Commissioner Zemel, you were just asking about this, is our families with children. The reality is that San Francisco has never been a city with a lot of children, and that makes each family all the more precious and brings an urgency to trying to keep them in the city. Yet we know, of course, that the high cost of living is one of the biggest barriers that families face. Even in families with 1 or more working adults, almost 20% of them struggle to make ends meet in San Francisco. That's 1 in 5 working families. This underscores the importance of our programs that can help alleviate some of the costs that families face. We can't undervalue the importance of the impact that CalFresh can have as a supplement to someone's monthly grocery budget. and especially now more than ever with the rising cost of food. Echoing the trends we just reviewed, the vast majority of children in poverty are from BIPOC communities. I also want to highlight our reach in serving children and families. Each year, we serve about 50,000 children, and that's about half, that's almost half of all of the kids in San Francisco. This means we have a meaningful opportunity and responsibility to make meaningful change in the lives of families in our city. Moving on to older adults, we also recognize that older adults are a key demographic served across our entire agency. And while the Department of Disability and Aging Services certainly leads the charge for us in this area, we serve thousands of older adults each month through our economic support and self-sufficiency services, programs like Medi-Cal and CalFresh. Older adults are one of the least visible populations in our city, and yet they constitute 1 in 5 city residents today, and by 2040, they will be 1 in 4. They are the fastest growing age group in San Francisco. This is another population that has tremendous diversity. The majority of San Franciscan older adults are immigrants, and most speak a language other than English as their primary language. So it's therefore that much more important that our services are multilingual and that we partner strategically with immigrant organizations and other community-based organizations to provide culturally directed and culturally appropriate resources. In the next slide, we'll talk about adults with disabilities, which is another population that spans all of our departments. We serve about 50,000 adults with disabilities each year, and even in progressive places like San Francisco, people with disabilities encounter stereotypes, stigma, racism, and challenges accessing resources and opportunities. We see that due to historic and present systemic racism, a disproportionate number of people with disabilities are Black African Americans. About 1 in 4 Black African American adults in San Francisco report a disability. 1 in 4. Moving on to adults with low income. This is the last population that I would like to highlight before moving on to our goals and strategies. About 38,000 single adults in San Francisco live in poverty. That's an income of $14,000 a year annually. Can you imagine living on that kind of income in the city? According to more holistic estimates, a single adult needs to make $60,000 a year to make ends meet. That is 72 hours a week in a minimum wage job. You have to work 72 hours a week in a minimum wage job to make ends meet in San Francisco as a single adult, even with a high minimum wage at $16 an hour. Through our programs, we strive to help job seekers find good paying jobs. And we are proud, that's Tony here, and Anna, we are proud that 60% of the job seekers with whom we work remain employed 2 or more years later. This work is more important than ever. During the pandemic, our local unemployment rate peaked to 14%. And while our economy is recovering, we know that low-wage workers, particularly in the hospitality industry, were the hardest hit and will continue to need our support in the years to come. Next slide. Drum roll, where we are headed finally with that background established. I'm so excited to share on behalf of our agency our strategic direction over the next 5 years. Our planning process has been guided by 5 strategic goals: equity, inclusion, and accessibility, strong workforce and collaboration, employment and economic security, health and well-being, and lastly, but importantly, safety and care. We only have a short time today, so I won't be able to go through all of this in detail, But I do want to highlight a couple of things under each goal and encourage everyone to read through the full 12-page report. It's only 12 pages. We worked hard to keep it short, which we'll send to you, to the commission over email, and is also posted now on our website. In the remarks to come, you'll hear about our 5 goals over the next 5 years, but you're also going to hear some examples of how we bring those goals to life. We're proud of the work and excited about what lies ahead. Our first goal is about equity, inclusion, and accessibility. With this goal, we strive to ensure that everyone has equitable access and outcomes, no matter their race, ethnicity, age, ability, gender identity, sexual orientation, immigration status, or neighborhood, in all of our programs, services, and systems. And I think this is an important point to underscore that part of our role is making sure that people can access our programs, that we take proactive role to bring in new people, in new communities into our programs, and that when we look at outcomes and we look by race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, that we don't see disparities, and when we do, we work to address them. And while equity, inclusion, and accessibility is a goal in and of itself, it must be said that equity, inclusion, and accessibility is actually woven into everything we do, and it's an opportunity to uplift the communities and redress past and present inequities in policies and services delivered to the public. Most fundamentally, we strive towards racial equity through our actual programs and services themselves and in our policy advocacy. Through our programs and advocacy, we can chip away at poverty and health inequities over time. We also invest uniquely in social inclusion initiatives that welcome all members of San Francisco's social and civic life. Here, I mentioned that we have unique access to low-income people's contact information. So while seeking permission and protecting identity, we're able to help low-income folks access the city's rich cultural resources. You may have heard already about, I'm sure, our city's Museums for All initiative. To date, this particular effort has provided free or reduced price access to the city's cultural institutions for over 2,000 HSA clients who otherwise would have had a hard time affording it. Just as an example, if a mom wants to take her 2 kids to the Academy of Sciences, it's $78. Like, who can afford that? And so having this unique program where you show a Medi-Cal card, you're able to access the program for free or reduced price in many of our museums, really opens up the city to these populations. Across our divisions, we are also advancing equity, inclusion, and accessibility by pursuing data-informed and culturally appropriate community engagement strategies that encourage participation in our services. Another strategy is taking a holistic approach to connecting people and families to a variety of programs and services to help meet their unique needs. We provide such critical and foundational resources, and we also recognize that many people have needs that extend beyond what we at HSA can offer. For example, our economic support and self-sufficiency division is exploring strategies to establish a new information and referral helpline that will help us more holistically connect the people that we serve to additional resources in the community that can supplement our support. Our second goal is strong workforce and collaboration. Here, we are focused on our staff, teams, and partners. We want to cultivate a strong workforce and collaborations, both internally within HSA as well as externally. Our focus is to ensure our staff and community partners feel supported, heard, valued, and connected to one another and our common mission. Over the next 5 years, we will be working to ensure that all staff at all levels of our organization represent the diverse communities we serve. Staff of all backgrounds deserve equitable opportunities for growth and advancement. We are also continuing efforts to train our staff so that they can provide the highest quality services to our clients. Thinking outside of our agency, we will sustain partnerships with community-based organizations to collaborate, develop, and provide culturally appropriate services. Another example of that is an RFP that we put out to partner with immigrant-led organizations to help enroll in benefits, because during the Trump era, there was a lot of fear about enrolling in programs, and we saw discontinuance in some of our programs among non-citizen households. And so we issued an RFP, which we'll be reviewing next month, I believe, to partner with immigrant-led organizations to really use the trust that they already have in the community to understand what barriers these populations are facing in terms of accessing our programs and what are the messages that would resonate with them to be able to actually enroll. And we will prioritize interagency partnerships and research that advances our systems level change. Here, an example of our efforts is the great work being led. Oh yeah, question?
Commissioner Summer.
Just forgive me for interrupting.
Yeah, no.
Online and but in this question, to the strategy, number 3, partner with community,
Yeah,
I'm having a little.
I can hear. Yeah.
partner with organization, the people in the community. I've been doing Catholic charity, family service, this community, so we partner with them.
Yes, yes, we partner with those institutions. Our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work is led by Asa King, and they are working closely with HR colleagues and program directors and managers across the agency to improve our practices. For example, we have implemented hiring practices that more actively recruit from the community. We now post all of our job openings to 28 job boards and an additional 39 diversity job boards. In this year alone, we participated in 7 career fairs attended by over 1,500 job seekers. So we're really getting out into the community to identify that people in the community have the lived experiences that can really improve our services. And so by partnering with the community to recruit and bring people in, and also by helping people at HSA advance who come from diverse communities, we can get at our equity goals. We're requiring that interview panels meet racial diversity standards to ensure that people from different backgrounds are looking at these applicants and bring their lens to the work. And we're also including a question around equity during all of our hiring interviews to ensure that the people that we bring into our agency share this commitment to racial equity. Our third goal is focused on employment and economic security. In this area, we're working to advance our vision that everyone has a source of income and an opportunity to increase their economic well-being. A leading strategy for us in this area is our Jobs Now program, which is a subsidized employment program that helps our clients get jobs through providing subsidies that open the door for people that might not otherwise hire one of our clients and provide a little extra incentive by covering their wages familiar with the Jobs Now program. Even through the challenges of the pandemic, over 2,300 job seekers received support through Jobs Now last year. And across our broader workforce development division, we helped about 5,300 people. And yet we also know some San Franciscans aren't able to work. This goal captures important work done by our SSI advocacy team in CAP, our General Assistance Program, and other teams across the agency that help people receive disability benefits and other financial assistance available to people who are unable to work. Finally, this goal includes our advocacy efforts and pilot projects to develop innovative strategies outside of mainstream public benefits, like the Families Rising Initiative, where we were the first in the state to bring home visiting programs for first-time moms with CalWorks services. Since then, the state has provided funding across the state to model that combination of programs. Next slide. Our fourth goal is health and well-being. We want everyone in San Francisco to have the food, shelter, healthcare, and supportive services and community connections to thrive. This goal reflects so much of what we do, from Medi-Cal, CalFresh, to specialized housing supports, and so many of the community-based services we help fund to fill in the gaps. These types of services are essential to holistically supporting wellness. Over the next 5 years, one specific strategy we will continue working on is to facilitate access to Medi-Cal, behavioral health services with our DPH partners and community partners, and other programs that look at not just supporting physical health, but supporting mental health. And of course, we know after the pandemic, so many communities experienced tremendous trauma, and that the importance of mental health services is greater than ever. One way we'll do this is through the upcoming expansion of Medi-Cal. We're very excited that the state has expanded Medi-Cal to undocumented residents age 50 and older. And our San Francisco Benefits Net staff within the Economic Support and Self-Sufficiency Program will be enrolling these new clients into Medi-Cal, or enabling them to get what we call full scope Medi-Cal, which is not just emergency services, but all of the Medi-Cal services. And we're also excited that the state recently passed legislation to allow new parents who have recently given birth to stay on Medi-Cal up to the first year of the child's birth, so that babies can stand for pregnant moms and they can stay on for longer. Goal 5, safety and care. Finally, you're getting through it. Our fifth and final goal is safety and care. As an agency, we take seriously our role in addressing abuse, neglect, and exploitation. We want everyone to be safe, stable, and connected through all stages of life. Much of this work is housed within our family and children services, and we are excited to be able to honor one of the staff members today. Over this next 5 years, we will continue to prioritize prevention as a key strategy. We strive to prevent children from experiencing abuse, neglect, and trauma by supporting families early on. Through these efforts, we are also working to reduce disproportionate involvement in the child welfare system based on race, income, and other areas of bias. One example of this particular strategy in action is our partnership with the city's Family Resource Centers. These 26 centers operate across the city, offering a wide variety of services to promote health and well-being. We are currently working with agencies across the city to develop a comprehensive prevention plan. Our Family Resource Centers are partners in this effort, and through our work together, we hope to connect more families to these critical supports earlier on in our lives so that they never end up in our child welfare system. We will also continue to make headway in assuring safe and stable homes for children who do enter foster care. Next and final slide. As you can see, we have a lot of meaningful work ahead of us. We know that with the continued dedication of our staff, our community partners, and you, the commission, we can move forward towards a San Francisco where everyone has the resources and resources and support that they need to thrive. We hope that this report, which will be shared with the public, our partners, and other city stakeholders, will help shed light on the important work that we are doing, the amazing staff and community partners who are doing it, and who work day in and day out to help move our vision forward. There's no action that's actually required to approve our strategic plan. It's informational. But before we close, I want to play a video that our communications team has created that features some of our staff and colleagues. We look forward to the public seeing our strategic plan soon and excited to share this with you. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions before we get the video going.
Any questions from members?
Thank you. So our starring actors in this show are the very own Director Gore and Director Aaron, who is the Executive Director of the Department of Disability Services and one of our two departments.
So I'd like to share one thing I have. Oh,
think there may be a volume issue on this.
there you go.
Commissioner Semmel suggested we show that in high schools. Yeah.
And that's a great idea. And Commissioner Semmel, I know you have been a really big advocate of communications and the importance And we didn't have this communications infrastructure 10 years ago. We would not be able to do this video, to be able to produce a plan that's so much more accessible to the public without that expertise. So I personally want to thank you for that support.
So I have one comment. Reverend McCrae texted me during the presentation. And, so I'm just going to read the text to you. I celebrate strategy 3, critical to local agency survival. My text back to him was, do you want me to share the above text? He said, you can mention it or not, up to you. I wanted you to know I support the direction revealed in the plan. So that's a comment from Commissioner McCrae, Reverend McCrae.
Thank you, Reverend McCrae. I appreciate that. Glad that that strategy in particular resonates with you.
Are there any?
Right there.
You celebrate. That's great. Are there any questions that the commission has? And this doesn't take a motion to
No,
approve.
no,
or anything.
it's informational.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8A is the resolution to hold in-person meetings with some members possibly appearing remotely. And I believe that last month I was told, do I need to read this
No,
thing once again?
maybe you do, but we'll skip it.
I'll make a note that you said it's okay.
And
I think you need a motion, though, right?
Yes.
can I ask for a motion? All in favor? Item 8B, the commission is being asked to adopt a resolution proclaiming May 2022 as Foster Care Month. Angela Ramos. Please come to the podium.
Good morning, Commissioners and Executive Director Trent Moore. Buenos dias a todos. My name is Angela Ramos Reyes. I'm a Program Manager in Family Children's Services Division, also referred to as FCS. I am under Sophia Isa and source family approval and foster care licensing, adoptions, supportive to transitions unit, which is 21 youth. And also the FCS Child and Family Team Unit. This morning, I am here on behalf of our FCS Deputy Director, Joan Miller, and Program Director, Sophia Isom, to respectfully request for you to proclaim the month of May to be Foster Care Awareness Month. In FCS, we support children that are victims of or at risk of child abuse and neglect. This is one of the most important mandates within the SFHSA. We realize that our partnership with foster care parents and relative caregivers is extremely important in the life of every foster child in our system. In attendance with me today are some of our resource foster parents on my phone, and also our RFA leadership team on video. Arlene Milton is our recruiter, our analyst, Jose Canaveral, supervisors Dina Smith, and I'm also here with Annabelle Baxley. I wanted to give special acknowledgement to our resource parents and FCS staff. Foster parents and relative caregivers dedicate their love to foster children by taking care of them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They truly give unconditional love and support to children and young adults. At times, it may feel like a thankless job. I have seen firsthand what some of our caregivers do for children placed in their homes. Transportation, enrichment activities, getting them to school and appointments, but the most important thing that they can give to them is love, along and with a safe and supportive environment. Special recognition should be given to everyone that is dedicated and supports youth and young adults in the San Francisco foster care system, specifically protective services workers, social service technicians, supervisors, clerical staff, foster care eligibility workers, placement, the RFA workers, analysts, and administrators. Oh, did I pick a long list there? It takes a team effort among caregivers, staff, service providers, and community partners to ensure the safety, well-being, and permanency for our foster youth and non-minor dependents. Staff and FCS would not be able to do our jobs without the help of our resource parents and relative caregivers. For the month of, in honor of Foster Care Month, FCS usually holds an annual foster parent appreciation event during the month of May. However, due to the COVID pandemic, we were not able to do an in-person event this year. But please, I want to let all of you guys know that each family, resource family, we gave them was $50 gift cards, and they also were given identification cards that provide them verification that they are approved caregivers within our agency. We also invited them to participate in a virtual self-care training that happened this past Saturday. I want to just say that Angela did a great job with her team. This event was really fun-filled, and it was really to celebrate the foster parents. There was a lot of graphic prizes and a lot of team building with them and us, so it was really good on Saturday. FCS is also committed to make an effort to increase the number of resource homes in San Francisco. This will be done in collaboration with the HSA communications team to conduct media campaigns throughout the next fiscal year. Okay, claiming, I guess, foster care month, May to be foster care month. Whereas the family is the foundation of a strong, healthy community, and whereas in San Francisco, there are 539 children who live in foster care, and whereas in San Francisco, there are 146 foster youth in non-minor dependent status. And foster parents, including relative and non-relative related extended family members, provide an essential service to the community in caring for children and youth in foster care. And whereas the importance of the family structure is best served in foster homes that model family living as opposed to a group care, and whereas the stability and permanency of children and foster children is the utmost importance, and whereas permanency is defined as both a process and result that includes the active involvement or youth, and whereas permanency is defined as a permanent connection with at least one committed adult, which may include the biological parent, the reunification or with another adult family member, faith of kin, adult siblings, or other important individuals in the child or youth's life who commit to the child through adoption and guardianship. And whereas it is the responsibility of the entire community to ensure that each youth who leaves the foster care system in California has a permanent, lifelong connection to care adult. And whereas San Francisco is in need of dedicated care providers who will strive in partnership with the Human Services Agency to identify and connect children and youth in foster care to permanent, lifelong relationships. And whereas dedicated care providers model strength-based and solution-focused engagement with the children and youth in their care, and with community-based and government entities providing services and support. And whereas community-based organizations within San Francisco partner with the Human Services Agency to provide accessible and culturally relevant family-centered services to meet the unique needs of the families and children we serve now. Therefore, be it resolved that the San Francisco Human Services Commission proclaimed May 2022 Foster Care Month and urges all community members to volunteer their talents and energies to honor children and youth in foster care and those who have exited and the foster care system during this month.
I have one question. Don't you think, and I'm going to direct this to both yourself and Trent, don't you think that we should deal with this in April, naming May as the foster care month so that we get a full month? I mean, my God, it's June 1st.
Yeah, this came up last month with CalFresh Awareness. Yeah, we intend to move these forward. Next, we do these, almost monthly for different areas, so we'll just move forward perspective.
proclamation is read, is there any public comment? Hearing no further requests to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. So moved. Thank you. Item 8C, Andy Hagler requesting authorization to enter into a new agreement with Arriba Juntos for the provision of youth employment services to transition age youth. Yeah.
Yes, good morning, President County Commissioners. My name is Andy Hegler, and I am the Program Monitor for Youth Employment Services, or YES contract. Department of Benefits and Family Support requests authorization to renew the grant with Arriba Juntos for the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2026, in an amount of $3,505,468 plus a 10% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $3,856,015. The purpose of the grant is to provide youth employment services to transitional age youth, or TAY, which is between the ages of 18 and 24. The YES TAY program was originally created after the 2012 implementation of AB 12, which extended foster care benefits to non-minor dependents ages 18 and 21 if they actively participated in education or employment activities or were incapable of doing so. HSA also observed an increase in the number of 18 to 24-year-olds in the County Adult Assistance Program caseload, that's CAP, and developed a Personal Assisted Employment Services, PACE, youth employment program for those CAP participants. In 2017, these two programs were combined into one youth employment services program. The grantee of this contract will provide coordinated employment and support services to transitional age youth who are referred by HSA to the CAP program, foster youth program, or are verifiable former foster youth. The grantee will provide case management, support towards educational goals, vocational and job readiness training, and job search and job placement assistance. The grantee will also provide subsidized employment, appropriate posted work sites, will act as the employer of record, and will issue stipends to select youth in the program. The grantee will serve 140 youth annually. Services will be provided by Arriba Juntos at 1850 Mission Street and at various client work sites in San Francisco. I'm available to answer questions regarding the services. We've also got Gladys Garcia here, Arriba Juntos' Director of Programs. I know that LaDonna McKinney, the program coordinator, is joining us online as well. Thank you.
Is there any public comment via Zoom or in the auditorium? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? All in favor? Item 8D, Karina Zhang will be presenting in place of Anita Dunlap and is requesting authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with Seneca for San Francisco WRAP Collaborative.
Hello, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Karina Zhang. I am a program support analyst with the Family and Children Services Division, and I am of my colleague Renata Dunlap today. I'm here respectfully seeking your authorization to enter into a grant agreement with Seneca Family of Agencies for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, in the amount of $7,261,200 plus a 10% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $7,987,320. Seneca has been partnering with FCS to provide these services since 2006. Through this grant, the wraparound program allows children to live with their parents, relatives, and in foster homes as an alternative to a higher level of placement. This program provides a more emotionally supportive setting for the youth within their own communities, and it utilizes and strengthens the support networks around families. The wraparound program will provide services including intake, assessment, and treatment planning. The provision of services includes crisis intervention, 24-hour support, educational support, in-home support, recreational activities, respite, and other services and resources. Since 2015, there have been 657 referrals made to the wraparound program, resulting in 510 enrollments. These youth receive wraparound services for an average of 9 months. Also joining us today and available to answer questions is Shane Wally from Seneca. He's the Director of Community-Based Services, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have about this request.
Any questions?
I have a question. Our papers indicate this contract was worth $4.6 million. So we're talking about doing something else.
Item B. I'm actually reading from the agenda.
Item E.
Okay. I'm on. Thank you.
D, like
D.
I have the next one too.
Yeah, the next one. Okay, thank you.
Is there any public comment? Can I ask for a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Gong and Korean.
Morning again.
Good evening.
So again, my name is Karina Zhang. I'm a program support analyst with the Family and Children Services here on behalf of my colleague Vanessa Della, requesting your authorization to enter into a grant agreement with Seneca Family Agencies for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2026 for the provision of visitation and transportation services to children, youth, and their families. In the amount of $4,189,660 plus a 10% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $4,608,626. The purpose of this grant is to support family visitation for children in foster care by providing transportation to and supervision during court-mandated visitation meetings in San Francisco, East Bay, and other neighboring counties. Seneca's East Bay site will also be used in collaboration with Contra Costa County Child Welfare. They are executing a sister grant with Seneca derived from the joint RFP issued earlier this year. Seneca's First Stop Visitation Center also triages family to other family resource centers for ongoing visitation. Visitation is the heart of family reunification, providing education and family support. A wide body of research indicates that the frequency and quality of visitation is positively associated with reunification of families in the child welfare system. Seneca has been a critical partner in supporting family reunification by providing direct visitation services. Last fiscal year, Seneca provided visitation services to 158 families for a total of 2,500 hours. At this time, I would like to introduce you to Tamara McClain. She's the Seneca Division Director of Visitation Programs, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have about this request.
Is there any public? Hearing no further requests to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? All in favor? Item 8F is Irina Kadentseva. How do I do with that pronunciation?
That's pretty close. Good morning. Morning, Commissioners. My name is Irina Kadentseva. I'm a program analyst with Family and Children Services. I'm here today to seek your authorization to enter into grant agreement with First Place for You for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2026 for the provision of independently skilled services, or also known as ILC, which is a federally mandated program that self-sufficiency and independence for foster youth as they transition out of foster care into adulthood. Under this contract, First Place for Youth will offer independently skilled services to San Francisco foster youth ages 16 to 22, probation and former foster youth, as well as other county dependents in the same age group. First Place for Youth provides an array of services to support skill building and readiness for independent living, increase community connections, and to support youth in achieving goal-oriented outcomes, both at times of crisis and as part of their plan towards independence. In key areas, which include housing, education, employment, financial literacy, and healthy living. This organization has partnered with Family and Children's Services for over 10 years in the provision of services to youth involved in child welfare system and former foster youth. First Place for Youth has consistently met their annual contract objectives throughout the duration of our partnership and continues to implement innovative ways to meet the needs of youth they serve. As a result of their services, every year hundreds of youth receive services that are designed to promote increased knowledge and skills to navigate and access resources to meet their needs. Even in the face of unprecedented difficulties caused by First Place for Youth continue to achieve outstanding results in the services provided by continuing to seek new ways to adapt and face challenges. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this request. I believe online we also have Vice President of Contracts and Compliance with First Place for Youth, June Miyagi. She'll be available to answer any questions as well. Thank you for your consideration.
Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? All in favor?
Thank you.
G is Casey Shute here. Is presenting a request to enter into a new grant agreement with Homeless Prenatal Program to provide substance use support services. Casey.
Good morning, President, County Commissioners. My name is Casey Schutte, and I'm a program analyst with XDS. I'm here to seek your authorization to enter into a grant agreement with Homeless Prenatal Program for the provision of substance use services for parents. Under this grant agreement, HPP provides services to parents who struggle with substance use issues and have children involved or at risk of involvement in the child welfare system in San Francisco. This includes pregnant persons who receive services aimed at promoting healthy births and preventing child welfare involvement. This grants-based model focused in 3 core areas. The first is family engagement and intensive case management. The second is community outreach and linkages to supportive services and resources. And the third is peer mentor support and skill building. Services in turn are delivered through 3 core programs: New Beginnings, Keeping Families Together, and Family Treatment Court. New Beginnings helps expectant and new parents build social connections, meet concrete needs, and build knowledge of parenting and child development. Keeping Families Together focuses on reducing child welfare involvement and risks associated with substance use. Family Treatment Court services include a collaborative but monitored team approach where parents are rewarded for continued positive progress and behavioral change. HPP serves over 125 parents through New Beginnings, 120 parents through Keeping Families Together, and 50 parents through Family Treatment Court. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding this request. Also joining us today online and available to answer questions, HPP's Director of Case Management Services and Capacity Building. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, stating the name again. I didn't hear it. And Homeless Prenatal.
It's Edmund Walton Marion.
Thank you. Any public comment? Any questions from the commission? I should ask first. Any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion for item 8G? All in favor? Aye.
I'll see you a bit later in the agenda.
Item 8H. Karina Zhang, requesting authorization to modify the existing grant agreement with Alternative Family Services for the provision of foster parent training.
Good morning again, President Khan and Commissioners. I'm Karina Zhang, and I'm Program Analyst with the Family and Children Services. And I'm here respectfully requesting authorization to modify the existing grant with Alternative Family Services for the period of July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2024. The main purpose of this grant is to provide training and supportive services to resource families. The term resource family applies to all caregivers who provide out-of-home care for foster children, which includes foster parents, adopted parents, relatives, and non-related extended family members. A qualified resource family provides a caring and supportive home environment and performs all the functions of the biological parents while the child is in their care. The quality of the resource family will directly affect the foster child's physical and mental well-being. Resource families need both basic and specialized training in order to meet the complex needs of our children in foster care. Alternative Family Services is able to maintain an excellent track record in contract performance despite facing many challenges brought upon by the COVID-19 pandemic. They quickly pivoted all their training to a virtual platform and adapted to new ways to stay connected to foster parents, leveraging technology. At this year's program monitoring, they share appreciation messages they received from social workers and foster parents. The feedback received from both the community and the department has been overwhelmingly positive. I have here with me Annabelle Baxley. She is the program director from Alternative Family Services, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have about this. Thank you for your consideration.
Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? All in favor? Aye. Item 8I, J, K, and L, presented by Christina Chen. Christina.
Good morning again. I'm Andy, and I'm going to be presenting for Christina today. She's did all the work on this. Here we go. The benefits. So with your permission, I'd like to present items I through L together. I think you already said that, President Khan, so I think we're good there. Setting up these items together. The Department of Benefits and Family Support requests authorization to modify the existing grant agreements with Riva Juntos, Episcopal Community Services, Goodwill, and Home Rise for the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, in the additional amount of $1,093,678 plus a 10% contingency for a revised total amount not to exceed $2,406,091. The purpose of these grants is to provide employment services to formerly and currently at-risk homeless individuals. The grant supports an effort to strategically target available funding to these homeless clients best positioned to benefit from services. Grantees all provide direct training and job placement services and all take a sector-based approach to placing individuals in employment. Programs are designed to engage participants in activities for at least 80 hours per month and move them to employment within 6 to 8 months. 7 sector-based training programs will be offered to eligible participants. Riva Juntos will offer vocational training in automated office skills, nursing assistant and home care, Home Rise and property management, Episcopal Community Services and Culinary Arts and Social Services, and Goodwill and Customer Service. In fiscal year 22-23, 270 participants will be assisted through these programs. So we're available to answer questions. We've got a list of people here supporting. We've got Don Sanders from Home Rise, Michelle Scales and Melanie Wood from Episcopal Community Services, Hannah McDonald from Goodwill, available via Zoom, and I especially wanted to recognize Gladys Garcia from who will be retiring soon. So congrats to her for many years of service. We've also got, yes, congrats to her for sure. And she will be passing the baton to Chantel Bell this year in person as well. But Patricia Melgar is here in attendance as well for Rico Mutos, and Andy E, I believe is
Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion for item 8I?
So moved.
All in favor? Is there a motion for item 8J? A second? Is there a motion for item 8K? All in favor? Aye. Is there a motion for item 8L? All in favor? So moved. 8M is Christina Chen requesting authorization to modify the existing contract agreement with the Regents of the University of California, Davis campus for the provision of social work and related skills training and welfare fraud detection and prevention trainings.
yes, thank you, Andy. Once again, this is for Christine. The Department of Benefits and Family Support requests authorization to modify the existing contract with the University of California, Davis for the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2024 for an additional amount of $3,500 plus a 10% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $958,375. The purpose of the contract is for the provision of social work and related skills trainings to staff from across several departments within the city and county of San Francisco, for provision of the welfare fraud detection and prevention training to San Francisco Human Services agencies. Social work and related skills trainings will focus on social work intervention skills and tools, theoretical knowledge, and best practices for working with families living in scarcity. Participants will include staff from across several departments within the city and county of San Francisco, HSA CalWorks, DPH, CDSS. During the contract term, UCD will provide annually a minimum of 30 full-day trainings on-site in San Francisco, with each training session holding up to 35 participants. For the welfare fraud trainings, the California Department of Social Services, CDSS, mandates that employees receive an annual training in welfare fraud prevention and detection. UC Davis's CDSS approved training curriculum presents techniques that can help workers prevent fraud by educating clients, conducting thorough interviews, completing legal forms, and following standard procedures. Participants gain a greater understanding of the federal and state requirements that govern CalWorks, CalFresh, and Medi-Cal programs to assist them in their role of ensuring correct and accurate benefits are issued to applicants and recipients of aid. During the contract term, UCD will provide trainings that are either instructor-led or via online modules for 800 staff. Tilly Johnson. Zoom. We've also got our Human Resources Director here, Katrina Williams, in person.
Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? All in favor? Item 8N.
And for Chris. 16F. The Department of Benefits and Family Support requests approval of a sole source waiver exemption and authorization to enter into a new agreement with the State of California Department of Rehabilitation for the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, the amount of $171,849, plus a 10% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $189,034. The purpose of this agreement is to provide vocational rehabilitation services to HSA clients with disabilities, including clients of CalWorks, and CalFresh. The State of California Department of Rehabilitation, DOR, provides assessment, vocational training, job readiness, and placement services to HSA participants who want to work but are struggling with disabilities and achieving their employment goals. Program participants are either referred by HSA staff or our clients who access DOR services directly and are verified by HSA as being eligible. DOR contracts intake and assessment and refers clients to its subcontractor, PRC, formerly known as Positive Resource Center, for employment services. The PRC case manager provides job coaching and facilitates workplace accommodations for client disabilities. Once hired, clients receive individualized follow-up to promote job retention. The Department of Rehabilitation will serve a minimum of 33 participants per year through PRC. We're going to answer questions. We've got Lizelle Todd, contract administrator, and Laurel Lord, staff services manager with DOR San Francisco District Office.
Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? All in favor? So moved. Item 8. O and P. Presented by Karina Zanner and Benita Dunlap's absence. She is requesting authorization for safe care parenting education from 2 providers.
Yes. So on behalf of my colleague, Benita Dunlap, yes, I'm here to request approval of a sole source waiver and authorization to enter into a grant agreement with Family Support Services, as well as Mount St. Joseph, St. Elizabeth, Epiphany, for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2026, for the provision of safe care parenting education services to families with children who are at risk of abuse or neglect. Safe care parenting education is an evidence-based home visitation model for the prevention of child neglect. Since 2011, the department has been utilizing the Safe Care program designed for child welfare to provide direct skill training to parents in child behavior management, plan activity training, home safety training, and child health care skills to prevent and intervene with child maltreatment. Safe Care targets families with children 0 to 5 who are at high risk for neglect. Last fiscal year, there were 137 families referred, 125 open cases, and 58 successful program completions. This was achieved despite the challenges experienced with delivering services during COVID. And I have here with me Aisha Franco and the team from Family Support Services. We also have Deborah White online with us from Epiphany, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have about Safe Care and this request for modification.
Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment now. Is there a motion for item 0? Oh, excuse me. Is there a second? All in favor? Motion for item P. Second, all in favor? So Casey. Item AR is Casey Shu, request approval of the sole source waiver exemption to enter into a new grant agreement with San Francisco Unified School District for the provision of foster care services. Casey.
Hello again, Commissioners. I'm here now to seek approval to enter into a new grant agreement with San Francisco Unified School District to provide services to promote the educational achievement of youth involved in the child welfare system. Under this grant agreement, SFUSD provides a comprehensive program of educational support for youth involved with FCS. Over the last several years, both the state and the federal government have taken significant steps to improve the educational outcomes of foster youth and promote collaboration between local child welfare agencies and local child welfare and education agencies. Our partnership and this grant agreement have been developed with these goals in mind. Services include promoting consistent attendance to school, referring youth to needed supports, including mentoring, tutoring, and transition services, facilitating education-related communication between members of the child and family team, and providing trainings to SFUSD and HSA staff to increase knowledge related to foster youth education needs. Through this partnership, each of the district provides some form of academic support to close to 450 students and roughly 400 instances of case consultation services to FCS protective services workers. I'm happy to answer any questions that I have regarding this request. Also joining us virtually and available to answer questions is Georgia Williams Brad, a manager with SFUSD. Thank you again for your consideration.
Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further requests to speak on the item, we'll close public comment. Is there a motion? All in favor? Item 8R. Karina Zhang requesting approval of the sole source waiver exemption and authorization to modify the grant agreement with Safe and Sound for the provision of mandated reporter training, intervention services, multiple disciplinary teams, commercially sexually exploited children, and system improvements and support for Family First Prevention Act.
Hello again. I'm Karina, it's Program Support Analyst with Family and Children Services. It's my last presentation for the day. Sure. I'm here to request authorization to modify the sole source grant agreement with Safe and Sound, formerly the San Francisco Child Abuse Prevention Center, for the period of January 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. The purpose of the existing grant is to educate the public about child abuse and child abuse reporting requirements and to provide intervention and prevention services to families at risk of abuse and neglect, including commercially sexually exploited children and young adults. With the modification we're requesting, Safe and Sound will also be assisting the Family and Children Services in the development of a citywide child abuse prevention plan in response to the Family First Prevention Services Act, or also referred to as FFPSA. Safe and Sound is well positioned to provide implementation support for FFPSA in San Francisco. Every year, Safe and Sound reaches over 1,200 local parents and children in 800 families in their various capacities and programs. They have a strong collaborative network with the 26 family resource centers and other youth and family serving agencies in the city. With the modification of this grant, They will be able to help gather input and feedback from the community and help FCS create a prevention plan that meets the unique needs of children and families in San Francisco. I have here with me Jen Perlman. She is the Associate Director of Strategic Partnership and Policy from Safe and Sound, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have about this request.
Members of the commission, have any comments? Any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, I will close public comment. Is there a motion? All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Item 9 is public comments. Comments from the public will be received at this time. Is there any public comment? Hearing no request for public comment, our meeting is adjourned.